Yo guys, we're back with some Sword and Shield trial series. Right now we got Zach with Morpeko dolls and Meg with Torkoal. So right now they're setting up, but interestingly, previously we had Morpeko on the channel for when Nick and Locke played their little money match. If you haven't seen that, go check that out. We'll plug it somewhere when we get around to it.
Yes, and my list, I regret I did not play as many Electro Power as Zach is playing right now.
So even though we've seen the decks, we're going to see the decks twice, Zach has his own take on the list. But we have seen it already, so I'll just quickly get it out of the way. Hence why I chose to talk about it first and quickly. It's essentially just a hit and run strategy that has access to E-powers to make it two-shot or potentially one-shot things in the format. But as Gigantamax and tag teams become a thing, it's mostly looking like it's going to be two shots. I don't see how many scenarios you're going to be actually one-shotting anything. So to circumvent that, you go into a Poké doll, and then your opponent has to swing into the Poké doll, and then you just attack them and knock them out, making things really annoying for them. But that's basically it for Zach's deck. If you're more curious, we'll see as the match goes on, and Nick's list that we saw previously. Now for the list I'm more excited about is Torkoal, Meg's Torkoal list. You see two brand new cards down at the bottom. The main star of the show, Torkoal V, it has 210 HP. It is fire type, so it gets synergy with Welder. For 2 fire and a colorless, it does 90. And then if your top deck is a fire, I believe it does 90 more damage. So doing a total of 180, which allows it to two-shot everything in the format comfortably. But the card that I think will see more play and play in different decks that I'm excited to use is the new Oranguru. It looks similar, but it's not quite the same as our old Oranguru with an ability back in Sun and Moon, which drew up to 3. But now it's switched out for a different ability that says you can trade your top deck for one of the cards in your hand. So kind of the little strategy you got going on is you've got 14 fire energy. You're bound to have at least one of them in your hand. And you've got fire crystals and fiery flints to constantly have energies in the hand. So you're going to try to have at least one energy in hand, activate Oranguru's ability to switch them, and then Torkoal will have the guaranteed 180. So if you were looking at Torkoal and you're like, well, how are you going to make that work? How do you know that you've got a fire energy? Well, Meg is opting to use Oranguru, which will switch them. And it also seems that Meg wanted to have one Brazard, allowing her to get probably catchers and reset stamp, any kind of specific tech card she might need. Crimson Flame Pillar is definitely a way to go. Usually you would want to save your GX attack for some big knockout, but it's her only GX attack, and it for 1 fire energy you can get 5 I believe any energy, not just fire, but it might be fire. But it's just a setup GX attack. The bonus is if she chose to welder onto it and have the second energy, it would just burn and confuse the opponent. But I don't think that's going to hurt this Poké doll in the active very much. So,
And hey, let me butt in for just a second. You can finish that thought. Zach wanted me to tell you guys that that one of his sycamore is actually a proxy for a magnolia, and so you may see that on camera. We see that Zach got a good start. It's got 2 energy on the Morpeko, so or 1 energy on the Morpeko. Yeah, that's a tool. But is gonna get some hit and run action anytime now.
But it seems for right now, on Meg's side, that she's just opting to get some more setup before she starts attacking. This will give Zach some more time to get set up, and he drops the spicy recycle energy. Fun, quick trivia that in a normal match, because of silly translation issues, you can't use the old recycle energy in an official match, but these are casual matches, and obviously we're using proxies, but the recycle energy is really pretty. It's just a shame that you can't use it due to dumb translation stuff. But I believe the tool Zach has is a counter gain. Is that correct? Interestingly, since the deck is kind of slow-ish, I mean, it's not that slow, but you do want to stall a little bit with the Pokédolls, and you might end up losing some Pokemon. And that counter gain would suffice for the colorless energy cost. So you just have 2 electric energy, and then you just be bouncing back and forth. Zach drops the Oricorio, which I don't believe Nick had in his deck.
No, I did not.
And it combos well with Pokédoll because even though you're not taking a prize, you're knocking out something. Therefore, you can use Oricorio's Dance of Tribute to draw 3.
Oh, okay. Same way that that teammates worked.
Basically. Or for more recent, similar to Persian, except for it's for all Pokemon.
Yep.
So it looks like Zach wanted to... Wait. How is Zach... Zach, how are you attacking, man?
He has Thunder Mountain.
Okay, just double checking. Just wanted to make sure before... Because I see the counter gain, and I'm thinking, oh, he's using that. But thankfully, everything's okay, and he's got the Thunder Mountain. Just a quick oversight.
An interesting dynamic I see here, so we're looking at these lists, is that Megan's Torkoal deck has Gust Effect, and Zach's Morpeko deck has Gust Effects here. And an interesting dynamic I think we're going to see is that people are going to stop using Great Catcher so much and switch back to Custom Catcher, because Great Catcher doesn't get Pokemon V. But and since Megan doesn't have any Pokemon GX in her deck, Zach's got the Custom Catcher, so he's good there. Megan has the Great Catcher, and Zach does have I think 4 GXs in his deck. And we did not plan it this way. And Zach is still getting set up pretty well. He got himself an item, a lightning energy.
So I'd like to actually counter Nick's thoughts. Mm-hmm. I personally think that only decks that can specifically search the customs are going to be the ones to be able to use it. So if we look at Meg's list, even she could potentially be using the customs, but her main attacker is the Torkoal. She doesn't... Brazard is an option, but the main star of the show is Torkoal. And you also got Victini poking in there, so I don't think there's that many opportunities to be searching for the custom catchers. But on Zach's side, he's running Volkner and Rosa to be able to search out things. And Rosa has the exact same interaction as Oricorio. There we go. You see he's using the Dance of Tribute.
Man. I love it. I love it. That was perfect.
Oh, man.
He got Dance of the Ancients for 2 energy and get to use Oricorio's ability.
So one problem I noticed here
I knew he was holding on to those electro powers for something. Go on.
So as these Morpekos are shredding through the big tag teams in Torkoal, it's kind of difficult for Meg to get out of the situation because she's really got to get rid of that Thunder Mountain. That's the biggest issue right now. But the thing is that she only runs 2 Giant Hearth, and she lost her Brazard. So she has no direct way of getting it. We don't have a Guzma and Hala. She doesn't have the need for it. No Stadium now because you don't have the need for it. There's really not that need for searching stadiums. But in this case, it just is hurting because Zach got it early. I think he just raw drawn into it. Guzma Hala, yeah. He has that one Guzman Hala to be able to get things going. Interestingly, one problem that I noticed while commentating Nick's match against Locke with his Morpeko list is that it seemed like you're struggling with energy attachments. And it seems like Zach really thought about that going in with his list, utilizing Tapu Koko, even though they both did, and they both had Tapu Koko and Thunder Mountain. But one interesting tech that I don't believe Nick had was one Bede. And a lot of people were saying, looking at it and going like, what? This card is garbage. But Zach found a use for it in being able to attach that other energy, needing to get Morpeko set up. So sometimes you might be struggling a little for those energy attachments because it costs 3 energy, you know? And I don't think that counter gang is going to be able to come into play because Zach's down to 1 prize. So in this game, it's kind of useless.
We've seen, there have been a lot of Morpeko dolls lists from Japan that are available to us. I've tested Bede actually with ADP decks just so I can get the turn 1 altered creation. Didn't work out for me, but that's the only thing I've tested Bede with. This may be the proper niche for that card though, is Morpeko dolls, and let's hope this pays off for Zach.
Did you see any Bede in Morpeko?
I can't recall a specific one, but Zach is saying he does, and just once.
Zach says he just saw it once, and it seems like he was drawing inspiration. Most of these decks that we drew inspiration from, except for me, because no one likes Behem in Japan, apparently. Part of the reason I think that might be because of their best-of-1 format.
Zach takes it.
Or my stadiums to kick the Thunder Mountain.
Yeah.
The first turn is Mahalo breaks the game for him.
Meg having a tough time. As our players are shuffling up, one thing I want to point out is unique. It's not an interaction, but unique conditions with cards. Why I'm mentioning this is because of the Torkoal. Its damage is based on if you have the fire energy on top of the deck. So that makes the attack fair. It's like 3 for 180 is kind of good, pretty good. But by having that little condition, it makes it fair in a way. And most fire types have the effect, oh, you need to discard something. But Torkoal's really unique in that it doesn't really need to discard from itself, but I think, in fact, it discards from your opponent from its second attack, Steam Crash. For 120, 3 fire, and 1 colorless. Discard 2 energies from your opponent's active. So Torkoal...
Megan's going first.
So Torkoal really breaks the trend of fire types being this burn from itself, like do big damage, but I'm going to discard all of my energy. Instead, opting to discard the opponent's energy. But because of the dolls, I don't know how good Steam Crash is going to be. If Meg had a way to consistently bring up the Morpekos, that could actually be devastating to her strategy.
And we got basics. Ready to get started.
This looks like our players getting ready now. Ooh, man, Meg has a great start as Zach starts that Dedenne. I don't know how he's feeling. I think he's feeling a little bad about that. Meg gets the Oranguru down. I'm going to play a quick ball. Wonder what she's going to grab. So because of Meg playing Welder and Volcanion, one question that a lot of people are thinking about now because of the rule change, that you can't play turn 1 supporters. Some people are actually opting to go second, but I'm kind of surprised that Meg didn't go second because she started, because she gets, yeah, you wouldn't have known if she started, but in all honesty, it seems the odds would be against her, but assuming she somehow knew or planned to start Volcanion, you'd be able to get those 3 energy on the Torkoal and Welder onto something else. That would set your start up immediately, because you wouldn't need to Welder on the Volcanion or the Torkoal. You get the attach, and then Welder, and then the Volcanion's attack. But Meg opts to go first, which I personally think is safer than going second.
And she gets that quick ball to get that Oranguru.
She got with Torkoal, I believe.
Gotcha.
I think she started with Oranguru and then quick ball for Torkoal.
That's right.
See, now we're seeing that Oranguru coming into play. If she really didn't like the card that she threw in, she could use a card to shuffle it up and then get a new card. But what kind of stinks is that at least Meg will know what she gets next turn. But if that wasn't doing her any good, she's just going to get the same card. You know what I mean? So Zach's going to start off with a Volkner. I think Zach wants to go first for that energy attachment. But now, if he really wanted to swing and he really had the nuts going on, looks like he's going to start off with a Coco V. Nick, did you have Coco V in your list?
In my Morpeko dolls list, yeah, I did.
Did we? I don't recall if we see it.
I did not attack with it. So Zach could, if we want to talk about, just drawing the nuts, he could, in theory, get off a Dance of the Ancients, get off a Bede, and just start swinging for 3 energy, early game. And also, remember, we still have Thunder Mountain in this deck.
So the card that Zach just threw out there, Tapu Koko V, for the attack that Zach used for a single energy does 20 damage, and then you can draw 2 cards. That is absolutely amazing for the Morpeko deck. But it also has Thunder's Bolt for 200, and for 2 electric energy and a color. It's the exact same as Morpeko's second attack. It's interesting how both these attacks are the exact same. So no matter who you want to use, you set them up the same. But if you happen to need like that big one-hit KO...
Ooh, 2 energy.
So it looks like Meg gets off her Welder. Wonder if Meg might just be trying to get energies out and just saying, hey, if you happen to kill this Volk, I've got some time, but if you happen to kill this Volk, at least I will have this Torkoal swinging on you. But as I was saying with the Tapu Koko, if you happen to need a big one-hit KO, Zach is running a bunch of Electro Powers to get knockouts on tag teams, even though you would need 3 Electro Powers to knock out a tag team. Sometimes that one-hit KO can just swing the game. Especially with how quickly you can get it. Especially, you could potentially get it on turn 1, attaching Tapu Koko and then Thunder Mountain, and then just drop a bunch of E-powers and donk your opponent. But the chances of that are very unlikely, but the potential is there.
And she's got a life berry, I think it's called. I'm looking at Big Charm. It's called Big Charm on there. Because last game we remember Zach got 2 Electra powers on Morpeko's attack and 1-hit KO the Torkoal because it's got 220 HP. So Megan's gonna help that effort a little bit by expanding its HP by 30. One thing I like about this this Tapu Koko V is it's got free retreat. So, in a really dire situation where you're using Morpeko's attack, you could send up Tapu Koko V and just hope that it doesn't get knocked out, and then just retreat, send up Morpeko again. The Tapu Koko V is just a one of, but it looks like a good addition for this deck.
Yeah, as the main Meg was just asking, hey, Zach, do you play electromagnetic radar? And he says no. And the reason for that is because you have your main attacker is Morpeko V, and you also have one of Morpeko V Max, which we saw also with Nick. Additionally, that one Tapu Koko V. The V Pokemon don't interact with the cards that say specifically GX and EX. While it is good that Great Catcher doesn't enshrine and Power Plant will not affect Pokemon V, Morpeko, and Tapu Koko specifically, you cannot electromagnetic radar for them. So you're going to have to use your quick balls to get those out instead of getting Jirachi, which kind of stinks, but I think Zach's thought about this deck a lot, and he definitely knows his game plan and is confident with the deck going forward. So heading back to the match, it seems Meg just harfed a fan club to get 2 energies. Maybe if she wants to attack now, she could switch if she happened to have it. I haven't seen her hand, so I don't know exactly what's going on there. But if she wanted to, she could switch and then attack for 180 if she uses a Rangaroo. But I think an interesting way to go about it would to be, it looks like she might just attack naturally. But I think an interesting strategy would be use Torkoal's second attack to get rid of that 1 lone energy. It seems like Zach's kind of taking things a little slow.
And notice that Megan has more than 4 fire energy in play, so he might just get an extra damage here off the Volcanion.
Yeah, she would be swinging to 110.
Mm-hmm.
She'd be going for... She's putting on pressure, saying, hey, you've just been chilling there doing your little spike draw, but I'm not going to let that keep going forward. You need to do something. So Zach opts to just switch out into the doll.
So far, we haven't gotten that early game. Oh, hey, just as I was about to say, Tapu Koko Prism Star, he drops it down.
So an interesting interaction.
And the double energy, just like last time.
Is that Tapu Koko has free retreat, so you can go into the Poké doll, and then you can use Tapu Koko Prism, and then because the doll goes to the bottom of the deck, that's an effect on the card. That doesn't count as retreating.
Oh, I love
Therefore, you can just bring up the Tapu Koko and obliterate this Volcanion.
As soon as I figured that out myself, that you don't burn up your retreat for the turn by using Lillie's Pokédoll's effect, dude, I was jumping for joy. I love this card so much.
You might be, if you check out other match that may be out or later depending on how we do things, you'll also see some shenanigans with Poké Dolls in later videos. This looks like Meg's going for the quick ball. What do you think she's going to grab? I think all she can really grab is Torkoal, since the deck is just so linear. Thankfully, one good thing about new decks is since Meg wanted to go for a simple, straightforward strategy, just straight consistency, get these Torkoals rolling as fast as possible. There aren't too many big game-changing decisions where you're like, oh, man, I wish I'd done that instead of whatever. If something goes wrong, it won't go too wrong. It's pretty safe. It's a straightforward, safe deck.
How about you listening at home? Do you think Torkoal V is going to be an easy deck to play? Do you think there's going to be a high level of variance in matches? Let us know. Post in the comments.
You think it's going to be popular? I mean, I don't know how many people I've seen talking about Torkoal exactly, and I don't know how other YouTubers are rating it. But I feel like it has the potential to win a cup here and there. I don't know if it'll see big tournament regional success, but I could see it making day 2.
If I'm bringing Welder Sword to a cup, yes, you will beat me. I will whiff the weakness guard energy.
Nice. Looks like Meg's finally getting that Brazard setting up. It kind of bit her in the butt last game, starting it. But obviously you don't have a choice in what you start. The thing that kind of sucks for Meg, that she was... I don't know if she intended it to work out this way, but... So if you start out with... if you're attacking with Torkoal, then that gets knocked out, and then you bring up Brazard, and then that gets knocked out. Your opponent will go down to 1 prize, but since Brazard is the only GX in the deck, unless your opponent is running Ninetales or double custom catcher, they won't be able to get that last prize unless they just take out the Torkoal naturally.
Oh, right. That guy.
Yeah. So it looks like
Megan wants a prize, and she can't get one off the Poké Doll.
there you go. Oh, it's discard. Oh, it's look at and discard. Let me double check that. I must have
You don't
misread the
look at
card.
it, you discard
You
it.
just discard it.
Oh man, I think that's good. I think that's good for you actually.
Also point out the fact that she did try to great catcher Morpeko.
Yep. There was an attempt to great catcher the Morpeko, which we were just talking about at the beginning of this match.
And I was talking about with the price trade on Meg's side, but the same thing applies to Zach. And since Meg is the one that's running the heavy great catcher, I think that gives Zach an edge. We see Rosa coming out, being such a great utility for this deck, being able to search essentially nearly everything except for Thunder Mountain Prism and a supporter. You get
So much better than
you get Pokemon, you get item, you get energy. What more could you ask for?
Why can't we play Japanese cards again?
I ran
What do they do?
2 Rosa in my Morpeko dolls list, and I wish I had ran more. I love it.
Looks like Zach is opting to run 2. I think the philosophy is that Volkner you can use anytime, and the reason Rosa you have to have knocked out last turn, but Volkner you can use at any time. That's why you want 4 rather a 4-2 split.
That's good reasoning.
This looks like Zach is finally getting his main strategy going in this game. Electro Wheel kind of rolling back and forth. You turning out of the active, saying, alright, I'm a head out.
Erica's.
Meg's going for Erica's. That's really interesting. I don't think a lot of people are thinking about Erica's, because now we have the discard draw 7 again. We had Cynthia, we have Welder, we have Cynthia and Caitlyn as well. And I think all these supporters are kind of overshadowing Erica's. And Meg's getting some big draws in with Erica's, as Zach has 5 Pokemon. And Meg didn't really need a Welder this turn. Even I don't know if she had it in hand or whether or not, or the energy. But she's already got her Torkoal set up. She's already got her Brazard set up.
Got another big charm in play now.
I think that's pretty much it to that. She attaches the big charm to Brazard. What do you think about Big Charm interacting with Brazard specifically? I don't know if it changes any numbers. I think Zach's always two-shotting it.
Yeah. I mean, my guess would be she wants to thin out her hand for some reason, but I'm looking at her list, and I can't think of any reason she would just want to dump cards just to thin out her hand. Erica's
she might
hospitality, yeah.
She probably needed to use it to get down below 4.
Big charm for electric power.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Wow. So we got to knock out.
So one potential thing is putting Brazard out of E-Power range. Like we mentioned, the Tapu Koko V being able to get a big knockout. If Zach were to have 3 E-Powers, then he would be able to knock out. But this Big Charm forces him to have 4. And if he's already burned one, then he's not getting a big knockout on the Brazard.
So something I like about this deck is the electric wheel attack. We've had similar attacks to this, and this is Morpeko's second attack that sends it to the bench. We've had similar attacks to this into the TCG, but I think this is the first time that the attack like this has had real support. It's a lightning type. You've got Volkner. You've got Lillie's Pokédoll. You know, you've got ways to keep doing the attack over and over again, and you keep benefiting from it.
I mean, personally, I would argue that Donphan from the X Black and White, it came out in Black and White, but it wasn't until Fury's Fists where we got Strong Energy, which basically acts as the E-Power, boosting Donphan's damage. We had Karina, which acts as your Volkner, but instead of an energy, it's a Pokemon. So it's kind of neat how we've had past decks that kind of were similar in the idea. And quite literally, Pokédoll being an almost reprint of Robo Substitute, but instead it get buffed. Rather than discarding it, you just put it on the bottom of the deck. And that is a huge, huge difference, being able to reuse it later. And because you put it on the bottom of the deck, it doesn't get in the way of your Sycamore draws or Choreo or Stellar Wish Jirachi or Welder or Oranguru. There's all these different uses for it. Or if you needed a Dedenne to get a fresh card.
What do you think? Post in the comments. Will Lillie's Clefairy doll, Lillie's Pokédoll, have a bigger impact on the game than Robo Substitute did back in its day? And is Morpeko Dolls a bigger and better deck than Donphan was back in the day? Go ahead, give us your opinion.
I would say yes, because well, is Donphan better than Morpeko? I think it's better because it was less. It was a single energy. Back then, you had more things to add up the damage.
Right.
You didn't have to discard, but it's a single prizer.
Yep.
And the one thing that people were bouncing into the most, other than the Pokédoll, was Trevenant. And that, if you didn't play back in the X and Y era, locked out items. But now, I don't think we have that many cards that lock out items, so
Brace
neither
hard.
play.
180 knockout and got 3 cards.
So neither player, at least in this match, have to really worry about it.
Well, okay, Evan weighed in on his opinion, but I'd like to hear your opinion. So post in the comments. Do you disagree with Evan? Okay, so Zach sends up Jirachi. Here we go. Another epic Guzma and Hala. You know, I thought that this card was going to have the biggest impact in Expanded, just where there's just so much pressure to get special energies, but, you know, it looks like that's not the case. It looks like it's pretty good in Standard, too. And he does a Stellar Wish. Let's see if he gets anything good.
I think he's mainly looking for the Poké Doll.
Oh, speak of the devil.
We could, by the way, Zach was holding the cards. We couldn't see what was in his hand. And I was just kind of like, hey, I think you want Poké Doll. And there it is. Pop. There it is.
What do you think? Does saying the name of a card just make it magically appear in your hand? Post in the comments.
How is Zach attack? Oh, there he is. Oh, okay. I was about to say, I'm like, wait a second. I know that's not right. I'm not going crazy this time. And then he drops the Thunder Mound. It's like, okay. Just to say again, these are practice matches and testing rounds. So if we like mess up a little, it's like, okay, yeah, it's no big deal. You know what you should have done. Zach knew exactly what he was thinking about and immediately said, oh, I can't do that. I need the Thunder Mountain. So looks like Meg's going to skirt on out of there. She doesn't want to lose that Brazard. She's going to make Zach gust it up if he wants some prizes. Meg's going to drop her own Great Catcher to get around that Poké Doll. Torkoal, and what else she getting? Fire Energy. So interestingly, like we mentioned that she wouldn't be able to gust up efficient targets like Morpeko and Tapu Koko, but like you saw earlier, she could bring up the Oricorio and Dedenne.
Yep. And the Dedenne is what Zach started with.
Ape Wisdom?
Ape Wisdom.
Wow.
That Ape Wisdom coming in to put the Fire Energy just like I mentioned. Meg's going to be able to just obliterate this little rat. There we go. Torkoal just obliterates it.
Guaranteed 180.
Now, one kind of issue that Meg might come up to running into is now that Zach lost his Dedennes, there's not many opportunities to gust around the Poké Dolls. So Meg's going to have to go straight head on into the Poké Dolls if she wants to get anything going.
Oh,
And
there
there's
we
that
go.
goes with the double custom catcher.
Here's your hand.
Hand. Recycle energy. Wait. Oh, never mind.
So here we go, man. This is dramatic. So Zach is up 1 game. He's got 1 prize left. I mean, he could knock out an Oranguru if he wanted to, if he had the means to bring it up. And Megan's got 2 prizes left. It's getting close.
Oh, man. See, in order to win on Zach's side, he needs to... Oh, yikes. So the problem is that Meg knocks out Poké Doll, then Zach brings up Jirachi, and then Zach swings onto Torkoal. And then Meg's gonna have to somehow get around things to avoid the knockout. I'm not quite sure how Meg
What do you think, Brent?
wins here.
Oh, that's your dick. Never mind.
All right, so she knocks out the doll. Let's see if Zach has it this turn.
E-power. That's it. And there we go. A swift 2-0, I
You
believe.
either had one or prized it. I'm like,
All
well.
right, so Zach wins that 1-2-0. I'm glad that we
Wow,
saw this.
what in the world is that?
Oh, okay, he's showing his
Delicious.
busted hand. Zach did have a lot of material there at the end of the game. This is Team N to 1 for game. Check us out. We've got our social media in the description. Like and subscribe.
Already knows.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.